What is going on, guys? Today we're gonna find out exactly how much I've spent so far getting the V8 rear-wheel drive Prelude to where it's at now. Welcome back to another video, guys. I hope you're all doing amazing. I know I am. Today I'm gonna be going through all the stuff that I've purchased and everything that I've paid for to get the car to where it's at so far right now. Now, before we get into that, I want to let you guys know where I've been and what's going on behind me here. This is a garage door that a buddy of mine gave me, and it just so happened to be the exact size that I need for what I'm doing here. If you've been following me and you've been subbed for a while, you know that I keep talking about this garage door that we're going to be putting in. And I know I said that it would be done for the next video, but unfortunately some of the material is on back order. But that's okay, just gotta wait a little bit longer. But right behind me, this door here, or sorry, this wall here, is gonna be getting opened up and we're gonna be putting a 12x7 garage door in. So I've done a lot of work on this side of the garage, cleaning up some stuff and getting it cleared and ready for us to do the work. I've also been working with a new company and they're actually the sponsor for today's video, and that's The Coldest Water. Now, The Coldest Water reached out to me because of my TikTok page that you can see right here. And obviously my TikTok is a lot bigger than my YouTube, and that's where they found me. The deal is pretty exclusive to TikTok, but it doesn't hurt to show them some love on my YouTube as well. I will have a link in the top of the bio. But this is the best insulated water bottle that I've ever had. Now, when they reached out to me, they told me that they were going to send me a water bottle, so I got it. And before I started vouching for it, I wanted to try it for myself, and I have. So it might be hard to hear, but there's ice in here, and this ice was put in 36 hours ago, and every time I go to fill this thing up, I never have to refill it with ice, and it's the best feeling ever. Now, I know that they're sponsoring me, but I am being serious. This is the best water bottle I've ever had, and it doesn't only work with cold drinks, it also works with coffee or anything. They have a wide selection of stuff on their website. Now, they did send me this 32-ounce white bottle, but they have a bunch of different colors, sizes, and different styles. If you want to go check them out, the link will be the top of my description, and if you use that link, it'll help me out a bunch. And also use the promo code LiftedWrangler to get 10% off your entire order. Now let's talk about what's going on with the Prelude and how I've got it to where it is today so far and how much I've spent. So the first cost obviously was purchasing the vehicle. The guy that was selling this car was asking $1,800 and it had a blown engine. And it was perfect for what I needed because the interior was in mint shape, the body was pretty good, a few rust spots here or there, but I didn't need the engine. I was putting a small block Chevy in, and after negotiations, the car cost was $800. Now, since the car didn't run, well, it had a major oil leak out of the back, I didn't want to drive it home, so I got it towed, and the tow fee was 70 bucks. But the tow truck driver that I use always helps me out when I'm in a pinch, so I gave him an extra 30, so the tow charge was $100. Once I got the car here, I didn't have access where I wanted to get the car in the garage, so there's an opening back there that's basically just a 2x4 wall with some plywood bolted to the side of the building. So we managed to get the car through that little opening, and all I did for months was tear things out of the car and rip it all apart, so that didn't really cost me anything. Once I got the car down to what I needed, I ripped out the front subframe, and then I had to figure something out. As you guys know, I went with a Fox Body K-member front subframe, and I retrofitted that in somehow. Don't ask me, go watch the videos. I got myself a Fox Body K-frame, which is a subframe from a Mustang 91, I believe. I met someone that was about 2-3 hours from here, went to go pick that up, and that cost me $400. Now, along with that, the guy gave me the steering column and he gave me the front springs. The problem was he didn't actually get me the right springs. He gave me rear springs, which I don't need. So I had to go out of my way to go buy 2 new springs. They weren't new, they were used, but I had to get more parts, and that was another 30 bucks. And now that I was switching the front suspension and everything to do with the front end of the car to a Mustang, my Prelude rims didn't work at the time because the bolt pattern of the Mustang was 4-lug, where these were 114.3 by 5, and they just didn't match. So what I did was I got a pair of Mustang Fox Body wheels, and that was just for mock-up purposes, and that cost me 50 bucks. So after I got done buying some stuff for the front end and I got to tinkering with all that, I wanted to start thinking ahead. So what I did was I started looking for a rear end, and I found one. As you guys know, I got the Ford 8.8, and this was a steal. As some of you may know, the Ford 8.8 is obviously a Ford solid rear axle. And the reason I went with that is because it seemed like it would be a relatively good idea. Generally pretty easy to make it work with my car. And the one that I got can handle a bunch of power. It came out of a 1,000 wheel horse Mustang. So I should have had no problems with that when I get this thing on the road. Now, the great thing about this one was it already had a bunch of the work that I would have had to do to it already done. For example, it already had the 5-lug swap, which is no big deal, but it's money that I didn't have to spend and time that I didn't have to spend. It also had the caliper conversion, and it also came with the calipers as well. And the other thing is, I was doing a 4-link setup on this, and it already had the 4-link brackets welded to the axle where I needed them, and I didn't have to do any of that work either. And a couple other small upgrades to it that I didn't have to do, but if I wanted to do all this stuff, it would have been about $1,600, but I got the rear axle in total for $500. All right, now back to the front of the car. To get this to work and get the subframe bolted in here, I had to make these extra set of subframe mounts, you would call it, and my buddy Chris made these. And he's always trying to do me favors and refuses to take any money. But I forced him to take some money that day, and I gave him 80 bucks for those. Now, along with some of the stuff that's going on in the front here, I also had to get some motor mounts, and I used these motor mounts here because they were pretty generic and universal, and they fit a small block Chevy engine, and those were $200. Now, there were a few things that I had to get as well to make all of this work, and just a bunch of miscellaneous high-grade bolts, and that cost me around 50 bucks. Now, one of the things doing a car like this and making everything custom is things aren't going to be perfect. And for this example, what I'm talking about is the fitment of the wheels. I got the back wheels sitting pretty much where I want them to be, but I did that using some spacers. Now, I got a set of 4 spacers. I'm going to be using another 2 for the front, and that should put all the wheels roughly where I want them to. Now, these spacers aren't the greatest. I don't think they're very high end at all. So I might not run these permanently, but I am going to be using them just to get me by so that I can keep moving forward. And these cost me 130 bucks. Now, for the engine, my father-in-law just gave it to me. I didn't have to spend any money on that, and that's one of the main reasons that I'm using this. He's a pretty old school Chevy guy, and I love Chevy V8s, so it was just a perfect match. And he just had this laying around, so he ended up giving me this small block Chevy 350. I know the car is a mess right now. Like I said, I was cleaning the garage, so I put a bunch of the car parts in the car. But the next thing that I bought was a transmission. Now, my father-in-law did have a bunch of transmission that he could have given me, but I didn't want to go with any of the ones he had because I'm very stubborn and I wanted a manual transmission. For this project, all I could find was a T5, and it should be good enough for what we're doing, but eventually I'm probably going to need something a little bit stronger. But for now, this one was $1,100. And finally, we can talk about what I've bought for the suspension. Firstly, I did get these caster camber plates. They're not installed yet because we're still waiting on a couple things. You can check the last couple videos to see what I'm talking about. But these caster camber plates will allow for very slight adjustability. I'm going to be installing them exactly where I think they should be. And with the caster camber plates and the adjustability, I can fine tune it to get it to sit exactly where it needs to go. Now, these caster camber plates came in a pair. I don't have the second one right now. Chris has them because he's using them to make me some parts for the car. But those cost me 85 bucks. And for the biggest purchase so far on this build, I just ordered a set of coilovers for the front and a set of coilovers for the back. Not even knowing if they're going to work, I've just thought about it with my friends and we think that we can make it work. At least it'll get us closer to where we need to be. But the set for the front and the back were each $1,100, making that a total of $2,200 for all the coilovers on this car. So if I've done my math correctly, so far on this build, I've spent $5,645. Now, some people might be thinking about that and saying, dang, that's a lot of money to be spending on a car that's not even running, and you don't even know if it's gonna work. I already know everything that can be said about that, but it doesn't matter because this is my life and I'm enjoying it, I'm having fun, and this is what I want to do. And honestly, it's nothing compared to what I spent on my Jeep so far, so I'm not really that bothered about it. But anyways, guys, that's how much I've spent so far to get this car to where it's at right now. And as you just heard, I did buy the coilovers, so they are on their way. That wasn't my intention, was to have that as my next video, but unfortunately they're not in yet. But when they come in, you guys will know immediately. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Hit the like button, make sure you guys are subscribed, and don't forget, there's 2 ways that you guys can help me out on my channel and throughout my journey. And one is how I mentioned before earlier with the coldest water bottle. Every one of the sales helps me out a little bit, and that'll be in the top of my description. Or if you don't want one of those, you can also go to my website, liftedwrangler.ca, and that'll be just below that link, a second link in the description, and you can get a hold of some of my merch, and yeah, help me out. Anyways, guys, yeah, I made this video to tell you guys how much I spent, but I never did the math before, so now I know how much I've spent, I guess. So yeah, it's good. I'm happy to know that, and now you guys know what it takes so far to get this to where it's at. Tonight, I will be buying a whole bunch of engine components because I've been making the mistake of buying something and then installing it, and then the next thing is planning for the next thing. And it always puts me a little bit behind. So since the suspension parts are coming in and I haven't even installed them yet, I want to get a little bit ahead, and I'm going to start ordering stuff for the engine now so that I'm not waiting for parts. Anyways, guys, it's been great. Thank you guys for watching again, and make sure you guys stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to another video, guys. Wow. This is a good opportunity. I was going to do this another time, but something in my throat. I better take a little drink of water here.